All right, Darksiders. So here's the question. How would you rank all of DC's animated Justice League films? My ranking coming up. Hey you guys, hopefully you are having an awesome day. So today we are ranking all 8 of DC's animated Justice League films. Now, I know that there's more than that, but there are 2 we're not going to rank because I haven't seen them. So we are not going to do JLA Adventures, I believe it's Trapped in Time, and we're not going to do Justice League versus Teen Titans because I haven't seen either one of those. And I don't know, maybe when I do see them, I might need to adjust my list. So if you've seen them, you can get some discussion going on around them, but I will check them out. But for this review, they will not be included. Shout out real quick. Shout out to Charlotte, who got me that mug, Spider-Man, one of my favorite cartoon characters. So she watched one of my videos, she follows the channel, and she bought me the mug, and I appreciate that because I've never gotten anything before from anyone who's followed the channel. So thanks again, Charlotte. Also, real quick, before we get started, shout out to Matthew B. Haynes' channel. Just hit over 20,000 subs. Might be more than that by now. Shout out to Matthew. You guys are killing it. So many of you other guys are killing it as well. Channel's really growing like wildfire. Shout out to everybody who is doing their movie review thing. So let's get started, you guys. So we're going to start with number 8. Now, number 8 will be my least favorite. Then we'll go down to 1, which will be my favorite. Be thinking about how you would rank them so that we can get some discussion going on about this. And if you're new here and comic books or comic book movies are your thing, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and join the conversation. So let's get started. So my least favorite out of all these movies has to be Justice League: The New Frontier. Now, I did like the story of Justice League: The New Frontier. It is kind of an origin story about how the Justice League comes together. But I think the biggest problem for me probably was the animation, especially in relationship to some of the other movies that we're going to talk about. So I found the animation kind of flat, kind of unimpressive. So it really made it hard for me to get into the story visually. But I did enjoy the writing in this movie, which I do think was impressive, even though it was a fairly basic story. So it definitely comes in as number 8 to me. Now, I do understand that this was a timepiece. It was set around the 1940s, 1950s, and the animation and the type of storytelling really kind of reflects that idea. But it was really hard for me to get into. So it comes in as number 8 on my list. So number 7 for me is Justice League Doom. And now they're really starting to get a little bit harder for me to rank. So I did enjoy this. You know, one of the things that I did have a little bit of a problem with, and not that there was a problem necessarily writing wise or certainly not visually, but I just didn't really enjoy the iteration of the Justice League being started by Randall Savage. I thought that that whole part was a little bit unimpressive to me, but I did enjoy the fight sequences between the Justice League and their kind of counterpart nemesis. So that was really cool. And I especially enjoyed the aspect of Batman and how he really had prepared for each one of the Justice League members in case they went rogue. So I thought that was really cool. One of the things I love about Batman is that he is a normal person, but what gives him an edge and actually what makes him dangerous no matter who his foe is that he is always thinking 3 steps ahead. So he's always prepared for who it is. So he had something to deal with anybody, even Superman included in the equation in case folks went rogue. So I like that aspect of the story. Number 6, Justice League Crisis on 2 Earth. So this was actually pretty good, and I did enjoy seeing the Justice League basically go against their equals on a different Earth. So that was cool to see, and kind of the flip side of what we normally see with like the virtue of Superman and then some of the different attributes that we normally see with our heroes. We see the flip side of that, and we get to see them go against each other. So I thought that was cool. It was kind of interesting, right, to see Lex too on the different side of the coin. So all of that I enjoyed. I enjoyed the film visually as well, but I thought the story as a whole was not really that impressive. So I wasn't really super impressed with the writing of this, but the combat aspect I did enjoy. I have to admit that. So it was pretty entertaining. So that's why it comes in as number 6. Number 5 is Justice League Throne of Atlantis. This was good. Like, I really don't have a whole bunch bad to say about this. I enjoyed the visuals. I thought the writing was good. The origin story of Aquaman was awesome, and how he gets introduced to the Justice League. I thought all of that was really, really well done. Again, this is one of those ones where it was hard to rank because it really could have easily been closer to the number 1 spot, but I really did enjoy this. So I'm curious to see how you guys rank Justice League Throne of Atlantis. Number 4, Justice League War. I really like this as well. Number 1, because I thought it was funny, and I love the way that they actually introduce all of our heroes with the different personalities as really they're getting to know each other. So they're all operating on Earth really kind of separately, doing their own thing, and they're starting to come together as a group, but there's some angst in the group. I like that because we don't normally see a lot of that. Like, if you think about the origins of the Justice League, they all got along, everything was all good, but this animation really shows the conflict between them, which I thought was really cool. Not to mention the epic fight scenes between the rest of them and Darkseid. Darkseid is a beast in this thing, just like you want to see him. So I really enjoyed this as number 4. And again, this is one of those ones that could have been bumped up. Another one where I want to see how you rank this, but Justice League War was one that I really, really enjoyed. I can't wait to see how you guys rank Justice League War. Justice League Gods and Monsters. This is a story that had me wondering what was going on at a lot of different turns. I was trying to figure it out and I thought I knew which way it was going, but then it would go a different way. I mean, how interesting is it to see what would have happened to Kal-El had Zod actually been the one to pass on his DNA? And that's what we get in this story. And when you think it's going to go one way, it doesn't go that way. It goes another way. The writing in this was phenomenal. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I like the darker tone of this story too. This was a really, really, really good story. Again, another one, I want to see how you rank this because I'm betting that this is going to be in most people's top 3, so I'm curious about it. Number 2, man. Number 2 is Justice League Dark. This thing was awesome. Yeah, man, I loved every aspect of this. I thought the story was fairly complex in terms of how it was told. It was multi-layered, but everything was brought together to tell like a nice, cohesive, but multifaceted story that had that magical element that I enjoy so much. The one gripe that I did have with this, and it's not really even a gripe from a storytelling standpoint, it's just something that I wanted to see, is I would have loved to have seen Dr. Fate. I just knew that when we saw one of those symbols, like Dr. Fate was going to come out of it. So I would have loved to have seen him in this. I'm a big fan of Doctor Strange, so Dr. Fate is a close second for me from DC. But I thought that this was really good, man. It was a little bit darker in tone. The humor was good. Constantine as a character was awesome. Had a little bit of Swamp Thing action in this. This was really, really good. And if you haven't seen it, then you got to make sure that you do see it. And if if you're a DC fan and you haven't seen this, I'm taking your DC card. I'm taking it. This is one that you definitely want to see. It was easy to put this as number 2, and it really fought with me for the number 1 spot. But let's talk about the number 1 spot next. So you already know what number 1 is, right? Number 1 is Justice League, the Flashpoint Paradox. This thing was amazing, and it does make me really excited to see Flash's movie, Flashpoint, and I wonder how close it will actually be to the animated version of what we saw or the comic book version, which I haven't read. I'll just admit that. Like I said, I'm much more of a Marvel guy, but I'm going to read it now after watching the animated story because I really enjoyed this, how well constructed this story was. The animation was awesome. The writing was awesome. The storytelling was awesome. It was just really good. I have nothing bad to say about this movie. I thought that so many aspects of this movie were so well done, from the multitude of different heroes that we saw in it, from the way the folks were scripted. I mean, this felt very cinematic for me, even though it was an animation. And part of that was really due to the storytelling because it felt more like cinematic storytelling to me. So I was super impressed with this, and it makes number 1 on my list. There you have it, Darksiders. So that's my ranking. I can't wait to see how you would rank them. If you are new here, again, guys, remember to hit that subscribe button. If you love talking comics, comic book movies, then join the community, guys. I will be checking out Ready Player One, so look for that review and check out some of the other watchables on the channel as well. And with that, I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.